He walked into the conference room wearing a $4,000 suit and told me I was being demoted to shift supervisor. What Preston Caldwell didn't know was that I owned 54% of the company he thought he was running. My name is Wade Peterson. People call me Tank. I'm 49 years old, and I've been at Hartwell Steel and Alloys for 22 years. Started on the floor right after my second deployment with the Army Corps of Engineers. Today was supposed to be like any other Tuesday, but Preston had other plans. The conference room smelled like fresh paint and expensive leather. They'd renovated it 6 months ago. New carpet, new chairs, glass panels on the doors. The 18-foot oak table stayed. You don't replace solid oak. Preston stood at the head of it with his laptop open, pointing at a slide that said Operational Restructuring Phase 1 in letters big enough to read from the parking lot. 8 people sat around that table. All of them looked uncomfortable. A couple kept shifting in their seats. One guy clicked his pen cap over and over, then stopped, then started again. Behind Preston, his assistant Claire held a tablet like it was a shield. She stared at the floor. I sat at the far end, quiet, hands folded. Wade, Preston said, not looking up from his screen. Effective immediately, your role is being restructured. We're moving you from VP of Operations to shift supervisor. Your compensation will be adjusted accordingly. A 38% reduction to align with the new scope, $285,000 down to $177,000. Just like that. Read off a screen like a weather report. Preston was 26 years old. His mother Victoria was the board chair. He'd given himself the title of Chief Restructuring Officer about 8 months ago, never been voted on by the board. His hands had never touched a piece of machinery in this building, or any other building. His biggest accomplishment was an MBA from Wharton and 14 months at a consulting firm in Boston. I understand, I said. 2 words. He looked up for maybe half a second, then back down at his laptop. He took my calm for surrender. People usually do. I learned a few things in the Army that never left me. First is how to stay calm when something's about to blow up. You don't rush, you read the situation, you count. You breathe. Second is how to read a room that doesn't know it's already over. I've been at Hartwell Steel for 22 years. Walked in the door at 27, straight off active duty, and started on the foundry floor. Same floor I just got sent back to. I came here because a buddy from my unit told me they were hiring, and because the metals industry made sense to a guy who'd spent 6 years understanding what happens to structures under pressure. Floor worker to floor supervisor in 18 months, got my welding certifications and quality control training during that first year. Floor supervisor to plant manager in 4 years. Earned my engineering credentials through night school while running day shifts. Plant manager to VP of Operations 9 years ago. Every promotion earned on results, not politics. Every year, same routine. Do the work. Skip the office games. Cash the bonus. Buy the stock. That last part mattered more than anyone knew. My wife Rebecca died 4 years ago. Cancer 18 months from diagnosis to the end. She was a nurse at the VA hospital. The kind of person who remembered every veteran's name and what they needed before they asked. Her memorial service filled 2 rooms. I wasn't there for her final week. There was a catastrophic failure in Foundry Line 2, minus a pressure vessel rupture that could have blown the whole production floor. If it had gone completely, we were looking at $28 million in equipment damage and 4 months of lost production. I stayed at the plant for 5 days straight, managed the repair personally, oversaw every weld, every pressure test, every safety check. I saved the line. I saved the production schedule. I saved 47 jobs. Nobody sent flowers. But when the bonus came that quarter, I invested every penny. $63,000 in company stock at the employee discount rate. My daughter Ashley was 14 then. My son Scott was 16. They didn't understand why their dad wasn't there when their mom took her last breath. Ashley's 18 now, starting college in the fall. Scott's 20, majoring in mechanical engineering at Ohio State. He calls me every Sunday, and he's a better man than I probably deserve. I still don't have a good answer for them about that week, but I kept buying the stock. Let me explain how a man ends up owning 54% of a $950 million company without anyone on the board noticing. It starts with a pen. Year 2 at Hartwell. The founder's son Harold walked the foundry floor every Friday. He was 68 then, still sharp, still smelled like motor oil and coffee. He'd stop at every station, ask questions, listen to the answers. Actually listen, not just pretend. He stopped at my station in December and watched me recalibrate a pour sequence I'd redesigned to reduce waste by 9%. He didn't say anything for a full minute. Then he reached into his jacket and handed me a silver pen, engraved. It said HSA Year 2. Own what you build, son, he told me. Paper without equity is just paper. Harold died 7 years later. I kept the pen, and I did exactly what he told me to do. Started with the employee stock purchase plan. Hartwell offered shares at a 15% discount to employees who reinvested bonuses. Most people took the cash, bought boats, paid off credit cards. I took the stock. Every quarter, every year for 22 years. Half a point here, a full point there. It adds up when you're patient and nobody's looking. Then came the private purchases. 4 retiring executives over 16 years each held blocks of Hartwell shares. Tom Reeves, VP of Procurement 19 years ago. He wanted cash for a cabin in Montana. I bought his block at market rate through my lawyer. Ed Phillips, Quality Director 15 years ago. Same story. Frank Russo, outgoing CFO 11 years ago. Frank wanted a clean break from the company. I gave him one. Last year, plant manager Jerry Walsh retired and liquidated his holdings. I was there with an offer within 48 hours. Every transaction documented. Every transfer filed. Every disclosure submitted to the SEC under the Hoffman Family Trust. The trust was my lawyer Dean Hoffman's idea. Dean and I served together, same unit, both engineers, both staff sergeants. He went to law school after discharge, ended up specializing in corporate securities. He's 52 now, and the only person alive who knows my full position. Dean set up the Hoffman Family Trust 21 years ago. He filed the structure. He tracked every acquisition. He submitted every SEC form and schedule filing when my ownership crossed 5%, then 10%, then 25%, then 50%, all public record, all sitting in the IDGER database. All legal, all invisible to anyone who didn't bother to look. The last time anyone on Hartwell's board reviewed the SEC filings was 2019, 5 years ago. By then, I was already past 40%. Dean also made sure I understood Article 7 of the Hartwell Corporate Charter, the emergency shareholder provision. He explained it to me over coffee at Murphy's Diner 6 years ago. "This is your insurance policy," he said. "Pray you never need it." The language is specific. In the event that any officer of the corporation takes unilateral action affecting the compensation, title, or duties of any employee holding a majority stake without prior written consent, that shareholder may invoke Article 7 to convene an emergency board session within 36 hours. I own 54% of Hartwell Steel and Alloys. Market value approximately $513 million. And a 26-year-old with an unratified title and 14 months of consulting experience had just cut my salary by 38% without asking me, the board, or his mother's general counsel. I didn't slam the door on my way out, didn't raise my voice, didn't say a word to anyone. I walked to the elevator, rode it down to the parking garage, sat in my truck for exactly 2 minutes. Rebecca's photo was still clipped to the sun visor, her laughing at our son's high school graduation. Then I called Dean Hoffman. He answered on the first ring. "I've been waiting for this call for about 3 years, he said. Dean doesn't rush, but he doesn't waste time either. He had the filing ready by 6:30 p.m. Emergency shareholder action under Article 7, submitted on behalf of the Hoffman Family Trust, beneficial owner of 54% of issued shares. The board was required to convene within 36 hours. While I slept that night, here's what happened. Dean's filing hit the corporate secretary's inbox at 6:32 p.m. Patricia Martinez, who'd held that job for 12 years, opened it at 7:20 p.m. while eating leftover soup at her desk. She read the first paragraph twice. Then she picked up her phone and called Gary Stevens, the general counsel. Gary didn't answer. He was at dinner with his wife. Patricia left a voicemail. "Gary, we've got an Article 7 filing. Emergency shareholder action. You need to call me tonight." Gary listened to it at 9:45 p.m. while his wife loaded the dishwasher. He called Patricia back immediately. "Who filed it?" "The Hoffman Family Trust. Claims 54% ownership. Beneficial owner is Wade Peterson." Gary had been general counsel for 11 years. He was 59 years old, competent, careful, and he'd been uncomfortable with what Preston did to me. Preston hadn't consulted him, hadn't asked anyone. Gary sat down at his home computer at 10:20 p.m. and opened the SEC database. He searched Hartwell Steel and Alloys. The filings loaded. He started with the most recent, an amendment filed 6 months ago. Beneficial owner, Hoffman Family Trust. Percentage, 54.0%. He scrolled backward. Years of filings. Every acquisition documented. Share transfers from retiring executives. Quarterly purchases through the employee plan. Private transactions. All of it properly disclosed, time-stamped, filed on schedule. He printed 52 pages later. Gary told me his hands started shaking at page 8. By page 25, he'd loosened his tie. By page 40, he'd poured himself something he doesn't normally drink on weeknights. By page 52, he was staring at the wall. The filing was immaculate. Dean doesn't make mistakes. Dean builds paper trails the way we used to build fortifications in Iraq. Every angle covered, every approach anticipated, every document cross-referenced and load-bearing. Gary called Victoria Caldwell at 11:25 p.m. She answered on the third ring, voice careful and controlled. Gary, it's late. Victoria, I need you at headquarters first thing tomorrow. Your son signed something he shouldn't have. What are you talking about? Wade Peterson owns 54% of this company. It's in the SEC filings. Every filing since his second year. And your son just demoted him without board authorization, without legal review, and without the consent of the majority shareholder. Silence. 5 full seconds. That's not possible. I'm looking at 52 pages that say it is. Victoria, that man owns more of this company than every board member combined, including you. Another silence. Longer this time. Article 7 has been invoked. Gary continued. We are legally required to convene an emergency board session within 36 hours. That puts us at Thursday morning, 10 a.m. I need every director notified by 8 a.m. tomorrow. Gary paused. I also need to inform you that your son's title, Chief Restructuring Officer, was never ratified by a full board resolution, which means his authority to restructure anyone's compensation is legally questionable on its face, independent of the ownership issue. Victoria didn't speak for nearly 10 seconds after that. When she did, her voice was different, quieter. The control was still there, but something underneath it had cracked. Does Preston know? No, don't tell him, I'll handle it. But she didn't handle it. Not that night. Because while Victoria Caldwell sat in her bedroom processing the fact that she'd helped her son kick a hornet's nest the size of a $513 million trust fund, Preston was on Instagram. His story posted at 11:47 p.m. showed a glass of champagne on his desk. The desk that used to be mine. The caption read, Day 1 of the new era, first move made. He had no idea the board had already been convened. I woke up Wednesday morning at 5:30, made black coffee, fed Rex. He's a yellow lab, 11 years old, minus has stood on the back porch in the early dark. You could see the Hartwell smokestacks against the gray sky. My phone was on the kitchen table. I hadn't looked at it since Dean's text. When I finally picked it up at 6:50 a.m., I had 14 missed calls. 3 from numbers I didn't recognize, 2 from Gary Stevens' office line, 4 from Gary's cell, 1 from Victoria Caldwell directly, and 4 from Preston. I didn't return a single one. Instead, I poured a second cup of coffee, sat down in the kitchen chair, and opened a text from Janet Williams, my former floor supervisor. It had come in at 6:18 a.m. Wade, something's happening. Gary Stevens arrived at 6 a.m. Victoria Caldwell pulled in right behind him. Preston's not here yet. Nobody will tell us anything. But the executive floor is locked down. Conference room A is being set up for a full board session on a Wednesday. I typed back 3 words. Thanks, Janet. Thursday, she replied immediately. Thursday? What? I didn't answer. At 6:18 a.m. that morning, Gary Stevens had made one more call to Victoria. This one was shorter. I need you at headquarters immediately. We have a situation. Victoria arrived at 6:40 a.m. Gary was waiting in his office with the 52 pages spread across his desk. He walked her through every filing, every share acquisition, every Form 4, every Schedule 13D amendment. When he got to the trust structure, Victoria sat down. Dean Hoffman, she said, his attorney, former military, same unit as Wade. He's been managing this trust for 22 years. 22 years. It's bulletproof, Victoria. Every disclosure filed on time, every threshold properly reported. This isn't a technicality. This is the largest shareholder in the company asserting rights we didn't know he had, because nobody on this board has reviewed the ownership filings since 2019. Victoria's hands were flat on the table, perfectly still. My son demoted a man who owns 54% of this company. Yes. Without asking me. Without asking you. Without asking anyone. Yes. Using a title I created for him that was never formally ratified. Yes. She closed her eyes, held them closed for 3 seconds, convened the board. Thursday, 10 a.m. Gary nodded. There's one more thing. Preston posted on Instagram last night. Champagne on Wade's old desk. Caption Day 1 of the new era. First move made. Victoria opened her eyes. Get that off the internet. It's already been screenshotted. It's in the filing appendix. Victoria Louise Caldwell, 61 years old, board chair for 11 years, looked at Gary Stevens and said nothing. Then she stood up, walked to the window of his office, and stared down at the parking garage where Preston's BMW was now pulling into his reserved spot. He doesn't know yet, she said. No, don't tell him until Thursday. Let him walk into that boardroom thinking he's still in charge. Gary paused. Victoria, are you sure? My son needs to learn what a room looks like when it's already decided. Meanwhile, I sat in my kitchen and watched Rex sleep on the floor by the back door. My phone buzzed again. Preston's name, the 5th call. I picked it up, looked at the screen for 2 seconds, and set it back down on the table. Face down, the phone kept buzzing through Wednesday. 6 more calls from Preston, 2 more from Victoria's office. One from a number I traced later to Patricia Martinez's desk line. I didn't pick up any of them. I spent Wednesday doing exactly 3 things. I drove to the hardware store and bought a new hinge for the back gate that had been sticking since October. I replaced it. Took 40 minutes. Then I drove to Murphy's Diner on Route 9, the one with the vinyl booths and the waitress who's been there longer than I've been at Hartwell. I ordered black coffee and a turkey club, and I sat in the booth by the window and ate lunch like a man with nowhere to be. At 3:15 p.m., Dean called. I picked up on the first ring. Boards confirmed for tomorrow 10 a.m. All 9 directors notified and attending. Good. Gary Stevens' office sent the formal notice to every director at 11 a.m. this morning, attached the Article 7 filing and the complete ownership documentation. Every page, so they've all seen it. They've all seen it. I spoke to Gary directly an hour ago. He's not hostile, Wade. He's embarrassed. He told me he's been general counsel for 11 years and never once pulled the ownership filings. Said he assumed the institutional knowledge was current. It wasn't. No, it wasn't. He also confirmed that Preston's title was never ratified. No board resolution. No vote. Victoria created the position by executive memo and installed her son into it. 3 directors objected at the time. She overrode them. Gary has the documentation. I leaned against the kitchen counter. Rex looked up from his spot by the door. What's the mood? I asked. Cold. Gary described it as controlled fury. The directors are angry, Wade. Not at you. At the fact that a 26-year-old with an unratified title demoted the majority shareholder of a $950 million company and nobody in the legal department was consulted. Victoria, she's been in Gary's office most of the day, hasn't spoken to Preston. Gary says she looks like she aged 10 years overnight. I looked at Rebecca's photo on the refrigerator. She was laughing in it, holding Scott when he was maybe 8 years old. I'll be there at 9:45, I said. I'll be there at 9:30. I want to be seated when they walk in. Copy. Dean paused. Wade. Yeah. Wear the good suit. I almost smiled. Copy that too. Thursday morning, October 17th, 9 to 22 a.m. I put on the charcoal suit Rebecca picked out for me 8 years ago. She said it made me look like I owned something. I adjusted the tie in the bathroom mirror. Navy blue, simple knot. I slipped Harold's pen into my inside breast pocket. The engraving caught the light. I drove to Hartwell and parked in the main lot, not the executive garage, the main lot where the floor workers park. Same spot I'd been using for 22 years. The building looked the same as it always did. Limestone and glass, the smokestacks running behind it, the Hartwell Steel and Alloys logo etched into the stone above the main entrance. I walked through the front door at 9:41 a.m. Bobby Rodriguez, the security guard who'd been working that desk for 16 years, looked up from his monitor and did something he'd never done before. He stood up. Mr. Pedersen. Morning, Bobby. He didn't say anything else, but he nodded, the kind of nod that carries weight. Dean was already in the 3rd floor corridor outside conference room, a navy suit. Black briefcase. The briefcase was the same one he'd carried through law school. Scuffed leather, brass clasps. Dean doesn't replace things that still work. You ready? He asked. I've been ready for 3 years. Then let's go own a boardroom. The doors to conference room A were frosted glass and oak. Same room I'd been demoted in 48 hours earlier. Same table, same chairs, same carpet. But today there were nameplates at every seat. 9 directors, every chair occupied. Gary Stevens sat at the far left with a stack of documents thick enough to stop a bullet. Patricia Martinez sat behind him with a legal pad. Victoria Caldwell sat at the head of the table in her usual position as board chair, hands flat on the surface, face perfectly composed and perfectly gray. At the opposite end of the table from Victoria, one empty chair. The nameplate read, Hoffman Family Trust, majority shareholder. I sat down, placed Harold's pen on the table, folded my hands. The clock on the wall read 9:58 a.m. At 9:59, Preston walked in. New suit, fresh haircut, MacBook under his arm. He walked with the confidence of a man who believed he was early to a meeting he controlled. He saw the nameplates. He saw the directors. He saw Gary's document stack. He saw Dean sitting quietly. He saw me at the end of the table. Mom, what is this? Victoria didn't look at him. Sit down, Preston. I wasn't informed of a board meeting. If this is about the restructuring rollout, I have the Phase 2 presentation ready. Sit down, he sat. Gary stood up. This emergency session has been convened pursuant to Article 7 of the Hartwell Steel Corporate Charter. The filing was submitted Tuesday evening by the Hoffman Family Trust on behalf of sole beneficiary Wade Peterson. The trust holds 54% of Hartwell Steel's issued shares. This position has been documented in SEC filings for 21 years. Preston opened his MacBook. Victoria's voice cut through the room. Close the laptop, Preston. Gary continued. At current company valuation, Mr. Peterson's stake represents approximately $513 million. Additionally, the title Chief Restructuring Officer was never ratified by board resolution. Preston looked at me. For the first time since I'd known him, he wasn't performing. Those filings can't be. They're bulletproof, Dean said. 22 years of documentation. Every threshold reported, every transfer legal, every disclosure filed on schedule. Gary called the vote. One by one, every director voted to reverse all restructuring actions and remove Preston from his position. When he got to Victoria, she looked at her son once. She said, 9-0. Unanimous. Mr. Caldwell, your position is terminated effective immediately. Preston stood up, looked at me. Tuesday, you sat there and said, I understand. I did understand. Better than you. Security walked in. Preston left. The door closed. 2 hours later, I was CEO. Within 30 days, $13, $5 million dividend. Within 60 days, Preston was facing a $42 million lawsuit. Victoria resigned 1 week after the vote. I kept the corner office. Put Rebecca's photo on the desk. Put Harold's pen in the drawer. My nameplate says CEO, but the one that matters says Peterson. Preston told a boardroom I was just a shift supervisor. He was half right. I do know every shift in that building. I know every machine by sound, every process by feel, every worker by name. He just didn't know I also owned the building. If you've ever had a boss who looked at your 22 years of loyalty like a line item to be deleted, you know how this felt. Sometimes the guy who's been quietly doing the work while everyone else plays politics turns out to be the guy who owns the place. Document everything. Be patient. And remember, sometimes power doesn't announce itself until the whole game's already changed.
I'm freezing. I'm bleeding. Slowly fading away. But don't worry, I'm fine. The cold has settled in my heartbeat, like winter living in my veins. Every breath feels numb and fragile. Every smile just hides the pain. I'm breaking quietly in silence, falling slow without a sound. Yet I keep saying I'm okay, while my world burns to the ground. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. Maybe pain just learned to live here. Maybe sorrow feels like home. So I wear my wounds like armor and survive them all alone. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. If you ever see me smiling, no, it's just my last defense. 'Cause sometimes love means hiding how much you're suffering. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. It's okay.
They say just forget. Move on like it's easy. But forgetting you feels like remembering someone I've never seen. I've been trying to erase you from the places in my mind, but the harder that I fight it, the more you're hard to leave behind. Every memory keeps slipping through the cracks I try to close, like a face I should remember, but somehow never know. Forgetting you feels impossible, like chasing something I can't hold, like trying to remember someone that I've never even known. I keep reaching through the silence for a past I can't undo, 'cause letting go of what we had feels like losing something true. Every moment turns to fragments, every thought just fades to blue, like I'm searching for a feeling that still only leads to you. Forgetting you feels impossible, like chasing something I can't hold, like trying to remember someone that I've never even known. I keep reaching through the silence for a past I can't undo, 'cause letting go of what we had feels like losing something true. But now every empty moment still reminds me what is real. Forgetting you feels impossible, like chasing something I can't hold, like trying to remember someone that I've never even known. I keep reaching through the silence for a past I can't undo, 'cause letting go of what we had feels like losing something